What is up, guys? We are back with episode 4 of the Glacier Guys, and I know we're wearing our Sox hats right now as kind of sad Sox fans, but we're here to talk about an optimistic team in Chicago, and that is the Bears ahead of the draft. Um, I mean, if you're a Chicago sports fan, all eyes are on the Bears right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's the I mean, at least teams that we root for, it's the only team right now that has any glimmer of hope.
Yeah, it
As we're not
should.
Cubs fans, obviously. So,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Obviously the draft is coming up here in a couple days. Starts on Thursday, the 24th, I believe. So I mean, a few days out now, 2 days out from the start of it. And yeah, the Bears made some moves. Before I shouldn't say made some moves, but they extended Kyler Gordon on a 3-year deal. I like that move a lot. Does make him the highest paid slot corner, but I mean, especially just under this new defensive scheme, I think he could have a good and effective role.
Yeah, 100%. He's it's honestly well earned. He's one of the best slot corners in the league. He's not necessarily a huge name, but it's also not the craziest uh regarded position overall across the league. But it's he's one of the unsung heroes of the team, I'd say. I like the move. I think that and the TJ Edwards extension, 2 for 20, is a solid move. I like the Kyler deal a little bit more, but hey, I'll
Same.
take both. And
Yeah.
um,
And they're gonna
this,
look a lot different in this, in a Dennis Allen offense, some man coverage, just
yeah,
they're gonna definitely be asked to do different things, and it may take a little bit of adjustment too, but both guys have proven they're very talented players.
yeah, 100%. And they talked about maybe cross-training Kyler as playing a bit of outside on the boundary at corner, and maybe even a little bit of safety, which could add some value to that deal as well, especially if he becomes an outside corner because those get paid way more than a typical slot would. So,
Right.
I mean, it's nice that he could potentially have some versatility down the line, especially. So
Yeah, and with a
it's
guy that talented, I could see it happening, and that would just make him all the more valuable to this team
yeah,
going forward.
I believe
So,
he did a bit of it in college too. So it's not something he's completely new to either. So I
right.
could see it working out.
Yeah, and I could see that just being a factor even early into this season. It's going to be interesting to see how some of the players translate, just from such a different defense last year and the year before. But I have my hopes up, with a new revamped just whole coaching staff. Pretty much, I mean, things are just heading in the right direction, and I'm excited to see.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's it's kind of hard to find many things to not be happy about right now. One thing that
Yeah,
I have on my checklist that is yet to be checked, but it was acknowledged by Ryan Poles today. I think yeah, earlier today. Was that they're trying to get a Joe Tooney extension done at some point, which is something that I was kind of hoping for because he is in the last year of his deal. And I feel like is if they can hit a home run as far as the draft goes and extend Joe Tooney, that's a hell of an offseason right there. I mean, even
yeah.
without that, so
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're really just looking for that last kind of security blanket on the offensive line as of right now. We obviously signed three potential starters. Obviously there's two surefire guys in there at least, but and with Darnell Wright, I mean, he could move to the other side of the tackle position. You know, and this is what we're here to talk about pretty much is number 10. The Bears have the number 10 overall pick, and I mean, I really don't know where they're going to go. They have a lot of options.
yeah, there's a plethora of options right now. I feel like um judging by the pulse of like what's been going around on Bears Twitter, I feel like a lot of people are on the Ashton Genty train, and I think for good reason.
Yeah,
He's probably one of like three or so blue chip prospects that there are in this draft, and I mean, there's that. I mean, it's hard to argue against it, especially when you look at teams that can get away with drafting a running back and it being justified. I think the Bears are on the short list of it. Um, and I feel like none of the teams in front of them really have any business with the holes that they have taking a running back that high, but at the
Right.
same time, I don't, that's not going to stop them, you know what I mean? So
No, just because of the
it's,
prospect that Genty is and what he's, been able to do in college and he obviously this is like one of the more surefire running back ones we've seen in recent drafts. He's really been able to separate himself from the pack. And like you said, we were kind of moving in a territory where everyone's like, you'd be a fool to take a running back early in the first round, but you don't always see a guy like this. So,
yeah, 100%. And especially with the way this class is kind of set up where there isn't as much high-end talent per se, but there's a lot of like really solid players. And I've kind of seen some people say like the difference between pick 10 and pick 40 isn't as large skill wise as you would normally expect, but that doesn't mean you can't get a high-end starter with a pick like that. So,
right, it's
um,
not
I,
it's not going to be perennial all pros or pro bowlers, but it's going to be there's a lot of solid starters in here, and kind of to build off what you were saying, not a lot of difference in skill from pick 10 to pick 40. It's kind of like when you look at running backs 2 through 7, maybe, or that territory, there's not a huge gap there. But especially in this class, I mean, there's a lot of really, I think, running backs that could be effective pros.
100%. Yeah, there's plenty of difference makers. I think Genty's clearly set himself apart from everyone else, but at the same time, that's kind of where I fall in the middle on is where like if they don't get Genty, I'm not gonna sit there and be angry about it necessarily because of the depth at the position, but at the same time, I'm not gonna be mad if they get him either. So, uh, it feels like they're in a good spot, but it feels like there's other options there
Hmm.
because I don't know, the smoke screens with Genty are so heavy right now going around. It feels like he could go at like as high as pick 5, you
I
know,
know.
but
Yeah.
and it's like that's insane, but I get it. I mean, he is a top 3 player in the draft, I'd say. It's just his
Yeah.
position. So um I don't know. I want to say like just get Genty and call it a day, but I feel like we have to discuss other options just based on the fact that I'd give it like a 40% chance that he's there at 10, you know.
Yeah, I'd say more likely than not he's not there, but also it's I could definitely see a possibility where he would be there and you kind of touch on, maybe another running back, Omarion Hampton. Could he be there at 10? Is he worth the pick at 10? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think he's a really good player. I think he's definitely the clear-cut RB2 in my opinion.
I've seen some
It's
Judkins talk, but just here and
Yeah,
there.
there's some Caleb Johnson stands out there
Yeah,
too. There's definitely an argument for others, but I think Hampton's got the combination of size and speed that it makes him a valuable asset to any offense, especially with him having some pass catching ability as well. And I think his range probably starts with us all the way down to tw in somewhere in the 20s. I think he's going to go in that range.
yeah,
So it's interesting. I don't think I prefer him at that pick though, honestly, just
right.
because it's I don't know. I'd prefer to take somewhere where they can add some extra depth along either offensive line or defensive line, or even potentially a playmaker in Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland. And
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where you stand on either of those guys. Because I know that's kind of a polarizing topic, I feel like, amongst Bears fans at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of taboo to bring that up because, we've done a great job in the off season and I think just people think we still have other holes to fill. And there's still guys, it's like we're still waiting on that breakout Cole Kmet season. He's a solid player for what he is, but you made a good point here just saying that Ben has run two tight end packages before, and we could have Komet and a guy like Warren or Colston Loveland out there. So, that would be a pick that me personally I'd be fine with taking a tight end, because we could still after that still take a higher end offensive lineman in the draft, still take a decent starter level edge rusher, at that point, and having a game changer like Warren or Loveland, who I think are two of the best guys in the draft, I mean, that could make a huge difference come, September. So,
Yeah, 100%. I think that the offense could add a new gear with a guy like Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland. And as far as like preferring one or the other, I really honestly like both, but in different ways, if that makes
right. There's
sense.
different things to like about each of them.
Yeah, like if I were to comp them to these players like roughly, like Tyler Warren is more of like a tenacious George Kittle archetype, I'd say, and then Colston Loveland is more of like a Brock Bowers type of player.
Sure.
Which I mean, obviously I'm not gonna say both of them are those players, but like that's the
No.
style of player that they are, like per se.
Yeah, and
And
both are effective in their own ways.
yeah, yeah, of course. And uh I I really wouldn't be mad at a pick like that. I know people are saying that like Komet would just got paid, but like he isn't getting paid crazy high end tight end money. It's
No.
pretty average, honestly, for a starting tight end.
Yeah.
And if both of them are going to be on the field, I see no reason why it would really impact his role in the team either way, especially if they're
Right.
going to be running two tight end sets pretty frequently.
Yeah. And, outside of the offense at 10, the Bears there's a lot of defensive options that might still be there. Kenneth Grant is someone that you named out of Michigan. He's a high energy guy. He could kind of be a force on the line.
Yeah, yeah. He's always it's always seems like he's just around the ball, no matter what. He's always giving high effort. A play that people have referenced a lot is a play against Penn State where one of their running backs, I forget which one it was, but he broke out for a run and I think it was about 10-15 yards away from the line of scrimmage and Kenneth Grant is the one that chased him down, running full speed from
That's
the line of
awesome.
scrimmage. And for him being like a large defensive lineman, it's pretty insane that he was even able to do that in the first place. But that's just kind of an example of the kind of effort and the kind of motor that he plays with. I think he may not as high of has he may not have as high as an upside as a guy like Mason Graham, but I think that he's a pretty safe bet to be a very solid starter, which I would not mind at all. Just as a depth piece in general,
For
honestly.
sure. For sure. And then you have a guy like Shamar Stewart out of A&M. Kind of might be a project player a little bit, raw player. Like you mentioned here, 1.5 sacks each of the past three seasons. I've seen some people kind of criticize him for not having all the stats in college, but at the same time, the raw talent is there.
Yeah, the RAS score that kind of like grades out athleticism with the combine numbers and like height and weight and stuff like that, the combination
Yeah,
of it, it kind of like tallies all of it up to come up with a score. And he got a 10.0 out of 10 on his, and it was basically the number one
jeez.
ranked athleticism score of all time for someone at his position, and
Yeah,
that's that's kind of like something where people are kind of falling in love with that. He's kind of like the combine darling of this season, and I kind of I get all of that, but I. I don't know. I it just doesn't feel like he's been able to put it all together. He wrecks some plays, and his pass rush win rate was better than what the sacks would show. But at the same time, I'm not really in that camp of wanting to take him. Honestly, I wrote
yeah,
him down as a name just because he's been mentioned amongst others. But personally, that's not who I'm hanging my hat on.
right.
Yeah, and then there's a guy like Kelvin Banks out of Texas, the offensive tackle.
Yep.
He he's a polarizing guy as well. He faced a gauntlet of edge rushers in the SEC that probably made him look worse than some of the other guys.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I don't know. I think he's potentially a guard, which is kind of
right.
tough to justify at 10. But at the same time, he could sit behind Braxton and learn. So it's not something I'm opposed to.
Right. And the reason I included him is because I've been seeing him lately in some mock drafts
Yeah,
that I've been looking at. So that would be an
yeah,
interesting play. And like you said, it could be a situation where he sits and kind of learns a little bit
yeah,
more in order to start at the next level. But, it's still a hole in a sense that we'd be filling.
yeah.
And we kind of talked briefly earlier about maybe moving Darnell Wright to left tackle. That's something I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, it's potentially an option, especially with a if they were to somehow get a Will Campbell or an Armand Membu. Those guys are kind of like a fluctuating piece per se,
Yeah.
as far as where they'll play on the line as well as Calvin Banks. So it's an option at some point. It really comes down to Braxton, but
Yeah.
one thing
I
I
feel
was
like
curious to know your
Membu, no, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know. I feel like Membu has obviously a bigger chance of being there at 10 than like Will
Hmm.
Campbell is definitely not gonna be there. I feel like that would be a trade up situation. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just tough because 10 is like it's a good pick to have, but it's like some of those players that we're like really wanting, it's like we might just be a couple picks late.
just out of reach, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That's kind of where I was getting to actually. It
Okay.
was where are you on the trade up? Like on the potential of it at least. Um,
Honestly, just with Poles and Ben, I could just the way they are, I could just see something like that happening. Like they're just like if they want something, they're gonna go get it done. That's kind of how I felt like this offseason was with signing those offensive linemen, where it's like, yeah, there was talks about what's the center's name we got from the Falcons?
Drew
It's like
Dahlman.
people like, yes, he's not the perfect center to go out and get, but they're like, we need a piece. This is the best available guy. Like right now, let's just get this over with. Like, let's do it. Let's fill the hole. Let's improve a position. And I could see them trading up to a seven spot or a five spot just to go out and get that guy that they really want.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm with that.
Hmm.
The it I've started to warm up on it as draft night has gotten closer.
Oh, me too.
A part of that is probably just excitement because that'd be that'd be so exciting.
Yeah,
Just to see the Bears like a trade alert come up on the bottom ticker and then seeing the Bears flash. I mean that the thought of that is just so exciting. But it also
absolutely.
comes with the thought that I really want them to make it count if they were to trade up. So if they
Right.
could somehow swing an Abdul Carter, I mean, that would just be unbelievable. Like the offseason banner would be guaranteed to be hung up, and that's
Yeah.
a fact. I mean,
Uh,
if it already isn't, but
yeah,
uh yeah, that or Will Campbell or Mason Graham, as you listed, I think those are like the best three options that I would trade up for.
sure.
Genty, I've seen people talk about trading up for Genty, but it's hard. It's
It's
hard for
hard
me
to
to
justify
wrap
that,
my
and
hand
it
around it.
and
Yeah,
and it, I just feel like it wouldn't make sense because like trading, first of all, trading up for running back and taking a running back early is already like questionable in a lot of people's
yeah,
eyes. And if you're trading up for Genty and then the rest of your draft is going to suffer because of what you're potentially giving up, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
yeah. It feels like putting all your eggs in one basket kind of
Yeah,
situation, and it's like. I mean, sure, if he's a stud, then it
yeah.
really won't matter at the end of the day. But I mean,
But
you
it's like
never
even with a
know.
running back like that,
Yeah,
imagine he gets hurt, like
yeah,
tears his meniscus or ACL or something. It's just like
yeah,
now what? You put all
yeah.
your eggs in one basket, like you said.
Exactly. And if you're going up for a premium position like an Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, I feel like that's more justifiable because
Hmm.
those are the kind of guys that don't really grow on trees. You know what I mean? Not that Ash and
Yeah.
Genty guys grow on trees, but you know what I mean. I mean, you can
No, yeah. I
replace
mean,
that production.
you could argue that Carter, Genty, and Will Campbell are three might be the only three blue chip guys or close to it, in this draft. So
Yeah, that and Travis Hunter. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with that.
right. Travis Hunter. And
Yeah,
even with him, it's gonna take a little bit of time to like see exactly how much offense is he gonna play. Because I've been hearing people say like he is a wide receiver first, DB second.
it really depends on the team,
Yeah,
honestly. In my opinion, I think the Browns are pretty dead set on him being a wide receiver and maybe part-time corner at best, but
yeah.
the Giants, I don't really know where their head's at. I don't know if anyone ever knows where their head's at, but I feel like it's a pretty safe bet that if the Browns stay, he goes there. I think,
Yeah.
but but I don't know. I've seen that both two and three, the Browns and the Giants are open for business,
It
which is
seems like,
where the Bears
yeah,
speculation kind of came to my head, at
it
least.
it seems like 1, 2, 3 is inevitably going to be Ward, Hunter, and Carter at this point.
Yeah,
Maybe in that order, maybe not. Obviously Ward is supposed to be. It's just so weird going into a draft where it's like, all right, Ward is going to be the number one overall pick, and you go back to last year, he's maybe the fifth or sixth best quarterback in the draft. It's like, it's
yeah.
just strange. It's very strange.
Yeah. Last year he probably goes like McCarthy, Penix range.
Yeah, I've seen even people
Maybe
say Bo
Nix.
Nix range. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where he goes. I'm pretty certain he doesn't go above the top three for a fact.
No.
So
Yeah, definitely not
yeah,
above any of those guys.
uh,
But yeah, even
yeah,
Shador, I mean, he's been sliding, and it's kind
it's
of like, where is he going to get drafted? He could be
I
like the 15th pick, or he could be at the end of the second round. It's like
yeah,
it's crazy.
the quarterbacks don't really make any like I really couldn't tell you where any of them go besides Ward at the moment. Like
No, because
I
and Shador's not even the surefire second guy because I've seen some people hyping up Jackson Dart after having a good combine, and it's like,
and Milrow even has gotten
yes,
some juice
I
too.
know
And
this.
I'm like, what is happening right now? I, I'm really not too sure what's going to happen. Like, I've seen a couple
Yeah.
of them have accepted green room invites,
I
and
saw
I'm
the
like,
Milrow one and I was like, you might be there for a while, my guy.
yeah, I was baffled by that, and Shador, I think as well. And I'm like, I they like that's what makes me pause is like, do they know something that we don't know? But at the same
Right.
time. There's been it feels like every year there's always like one or two guys that they just keep flashing the camera on them every few picks and
It was
they
like
got
Aaron
that stressed
Rodgers
look on their
back in
face.
the day. Even though like
Yeah.
Will Levis wasn't in the green room, like just I remember him, they just kept showing him over and over and over.
Yeah. I always feel so bad every year. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God."
Even
That's I
Lamar kind of slid to 32nd
Yeah,
overall
last
and
pick. Yeah. It's like I would be so afraid to accept that invite unless I knew for a fact I was surefire, you know?
yeah,
I
like
would I
surefire
ne
top 10 pick.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
too way too scared to even consider going to the draft.
Yeah.
Uh, that's so nerve-wracking. But there's is there any other options you had in mind potentially how draft night could go? Whether or not it's trading back for someone or a
That's one thing
sleeper.
we haven't touched on is trading back. And some of these
Yeah.
guys that we named, I mean, I feel like we could trade back to 15 and still, possibly get someone like a Shamar Stewart or a Michael Williams. They might still be there at a 15, if that gives us an extra pick or even a pick in the future.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think that's definitely a possibility. Michael Williams is like a guy that could go like at like 10, but at the same time I could see him going in the second round. So it's
Right.
like it's a polarizing that's kind of where the difference between 10 and 40 isn't that large. Is kind of stuff like that where there's guys that we might pick at 10 and other teams might have thought that they could have got him at 30, you know? Like it's that kind of thing and
Yeah, and it's where different players fit in different schemes. It's where different teams need different positions.
mhm.
I think we're going to see some of the more comically inaccurate mock drafts this
Oh
year in
yeah.
recent history, and just like look back like here was so and so's mock draft, and it's going to be just like horribly wrong.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree with that.
when the college season ended, they're having the Shador Cam Ward debate, who's going first overall, and now Shador's sliding in the second round in people's drafts. So it's like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
This is one of the more unpredictable drafts I
Yeah.
feel like
And the
there's
running
been in a
backs
long time.
are fire, and there could have been more that came out, and it would have been guys like the two Penn State guys are electric, and even Scadaboo, a guy that's like he's probably not going to be the best NFL pro, but he's going to be a serviceable back, and
Yeah.
it's just
There's
strange to see like in 2025 a draft where like running backs are so valuable, and for the last however many years it's like don't draft a running back high, and the quarterbacks are just all over the place in this draft. It's not even that they're just bad, it's like no one really knows the order of where they're gonna go, you know.
Yeah, no,
So
100%. And that's kind of where having three picks in the top 41 kind of comes in handy because
yeah,
in theory, they could have three first round pick worthy players on their team after the first 2 days. So it's kind of interesting. Like they could very well get a solid edge player that people think is worthy of being a first round talent at like 39 or 41. Like there's a guy like James Pierce Jr. and Nick Scorton who are probably going to fall for different reasons. James Pierce Jr. is kind of had some character concerns
yeah,
as of recent. And that could be something they could capitalize on. I know they had the Jalen Carter thing where they passed on him and everyone was mad about it, but that time I don't think they could have supported a guy in the locker room with those kinds of character concerns. But I think this could be a changed culture where they could
100%.
absorb a guy like that and kind of help him develop into the player that he could be, you know?
Yeah, it seems like the coaching staff now is ready to maybe take on a challenge like that, or it seems like they're all on the same page and have their heads on straight. And I don't know, Ben just seems fired up. Like he knows how. I mean, there's a reason he was the hottest name in the coaching portal this offseason. You know, he's a sought after guy, and he clearly knows how to lead an offense. And I mean, the whole city's already bought into the Ben Johnson Kool-Aid. So, and I'm one of those
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah. And he seems to command a room well as his press conferences with the media have gone and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And he seemed to crush all the interviews and stuff. So I feel pretty confident in his ability to help instill a culture as well as having a guy like Dennis Allen in the locker room as well. So
yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and then there's a guy like Nick Scorton in the second round they could get edge from Texas A&M.
Hmm.
He had a productive season in 2023, I believe, but then has been derailed by injuries and a little bit of inconsistencies over the past couple of
Yeah,
years. But he's a guy that a lot of people thought could be like a top 10 pick during and before the season started. And I think that could be a guy that they could potentially develop in a Dennis Allen scheme as well. I mean, there's plenty of options that it everyone can't go in the first round, you know. So there's
yeah,
going to be some guys who slide, and it's going to be really interesting to see what direction they're able to go in after day one. I think that'll be very telling because of how quick their picks come up on day two. So
100%. And like you said, we could get a guy on the second in the second round that's maybe the first round talent. Like people we just
mhm.
don't know, and it could not be in our favor either. And maybe we you know draft a guy too high when it's all said and done. But it's like having those three picks that early in the draft, it just seems inevitable that one of those guys is going to end up panning out for us.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where building up future assets has worked in Pole's favor. It gives him more swings at it, you know.
Yeah, because
And
not
it
every
gives
guy's going to hit. It doesn't matter if they're a great college player or if they're a high prospect. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. But like
Yeah,
you just said,
exactly.
having more swings gives you more chances to land like a great player.
Yeah, because it's inevitable that some guys are going to miss, for
Yeah,
one reason or another. And just having more cracks at it and more ability to have some chances to take some swings at guys who have some potential risks or some potential downsides. But that's kind of the thing that I think Poles has done best. That's kind of why I was a defender of his for a long time, is because he set the Bears up in a spot to be able to take some shots at some at some Nick Scortons or
yeah,
some James Pierces.
yeah. Why not
Um,
take a chance on a guy like that? You have the flexibility to now. So
yeah, and if they don't end up taking Gentry, there's going to be a plethora of options at running back at that pick as well.
yeah,
I believe you're a Caleb Johnston guy, correct?
yes, correct.
Yeah, that'd be a slam dunk pick at 39 or 41. I think it's the Saints that are in between them at 40. So you kind of look at what they potentially may want to take and just take that first, and then hopefully they don't take the second guy you want at 41 or 40. So
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting to be looking at that ahead of time as well. So
Yeah, just getting a three down back and just still utilizing Swift in there. And I'm sure, Johnson may have a slight role. Just having a
yeah,
running back by committee, it's that's fine. That's normal these days. I mean, unless you have a guy like Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, those guys are outliers. I mean,
yeah,
it's just not, what the majority of teams have going on anymore. So having a guy like Caleb who could be a three down back, I mean that's huge, and that's obviously what we've been lacking with Swift here. But he could still be effective in the open field and screen passes, bumping it out to the left side, especially. He's been, his averages are up out there. But yeah, just having a guy that could be a true running back, a true three down back would be huge.
yeah, 100%.
And
Uh,
there's like you said, there's a lot of options. So
yeah. With as much as Ben wants to run the ball, that'll be nice to have some sort of difference maker that you can rely
I
on
mean, we saw with
on every
Montgomery
down.
and Gibbs, like both those guys could have. I don't know if Monty ended up getting 1,000 yards just because of injuries, but I mean, both guys had like 10 plus touchdowns, 1,000 yards roughly. And it worked, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Even if he didn't, he was incredibly efficient. Both of them were. I mean, that's kind of that's the beauty of it, I think, is
Yeah,
he's going to work wonders for Caleb, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be a run the ball type of team, and
yeah,
that's what I love about it most, I think, honestly.
yeah. And running like a two tight end package, and there's just so much more creativity with Ben at the helm. And I know he's not the OC anymore, but it's like you don't think this guy's going to have a huge role in the offense. You're just wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. We've got a couple days here. Maybe we could get a steal later in the draft. Who knows? But that our first three picks is, I feel like it's gonna hold a lot of weight and just gonna bring a lot of excitement for us, for better or worse. But like you said, there's a lot of good options that I will be completely okay with if we go in that direction.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been episode 4. We'll probably record shortly after the draft, kind of get our immediate reactions. It's
Absolutely.
gonna be interesting that night. We're definitely gonna be texting a lot, so
Oh yeah.
we'll keep you guys posted in the next episode. As always, thanks for listening. You could listen on SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever this is end up posted. Follow our social medias. And yeah, bear down pretty much. And the next couple days are going to be crazy. But as always, thank you guys for watching and peace.